Hello everyone, I'm here with David Coburn, MEP for Scotland and leader of UKIP in Scotland. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you very much.
Right, so you've been in the European Union for, what, 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
And what's your problem with the European Union?
I think it was the problem I had before I got here is the same problem I've got since I've been here. It's even got worse. Essentially, I always thought this was a monster, an insatiable monster for taxpayers' money. And I couldn't see its relevance because you wouldn't start from here if you were organising some sort of European business arrangement, treaty arrangement for business. You would basically have a minister who meets with other ministers once a month and decide what's in the common interest of various European countries. But here we've got flags, we've got a parliament, we've got an executive, the whole shebang, the whole makings of a country. But it's not democratic.
Well, it's not accidental either, is it? I mean, since the inception of the European coal and steel community, it's been a singular direction push towards statehood, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And what they do is they do it by salami slicing. They don't want you to actually know you've become a state. They do it gradually, bit by bit, so you sort of fall into this black hole and you just can't get back out of it. Britain, of course, has done the absolute unthinkable, and we've made our democratic right to leave. Why shouldn't we? We've decided that this is a free arrangement and people should have the right to leave. But they're absolutely horrified by that. They do not believe that anybody would ever dare to leave. Well, now we're leaving, and they want to desperately punish us for it, and they don't know how to do it. So there we have it.
It's a shame that Theresa May is making it so easy for them, really, isn't it? I mean, what's your opinion on the Chequers agreement?
Well, it's appalling. I mean, the woman is essentially, she's part of the system. She's a Remainer. She wants to remain within the European Union. Like many of them here, it's a great job for them. It's like a sort of super House of Lords with even more money. So once you've finished screwing up your own country, you can come here and do it on a continent-wide basis. It's wonderful stuff.
You can screw up other people's countries, yeah.
You can screw up the whole of Europe. I have a wonderful time doing it and get incredibly well paid for doing it.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. I mean, these people are being paid, more than we pay MPs at home, aren't they?
Oh, gosh, yes, absolutely. It's a very well-paid job. So it's great. It attracts all the wrong sort of people. But so some of us, like myself, were businessmen before, and I came here because I was furious about the way my money is being squandered by this establishment. There's legitimate reasons to be here, but there are many of them here, quite frankly, they couldn't get a job in the real world.
Well, there are a lot of people here who strike me as careerists, who come here to enjoy being a bureaucrat for their entire career, which strikes me as, if you're going to find someone like that, you should probably give them a minor job somewhere in your company, maybe, but instead we've put them in charge of a continent. But anyway, so I take it...
One thing you should know about it, and one of the most interesting things about it, is it's a sort of socialist institution, or claims to be, isn't, but it thinks it is. What claims to be, looking after the less fortunate, all this sort of guff. But one thing that is absolutely interesting about it, and they always having a go at big business, or business people or private business people have their own companies because they're all fiddling money, they're all fiddling taxes. How dare they do that? But what nobody tells you is that members of parliament here, many of them don't have to pay any income tax. British members of the European Parliament do, but the rest do not. And not only that, but the civil servants here and the people I employ, people European members of parliament employ, they only have to pay something like 15% tax. And yet they complain about everybody else being, people should contribute more money, it's all for the good of the less fortunate, blah, blah. Yet the people here, they don't.
Yeah, I would assume that these people surrounding us must be the less fortunate that it's the good for.
This is Versailles. This is Versailles. The whole thing is an enormous, people swanning around, talking nonsense, guffing hot air out left, right and centre and passing pieces of notepaper around.
No, that's a good point to move on to the actual structure of the European Union. So as I understand it, the Commission is the legislator, the executor. They propose legislation. It goes to the MEPs, who can amend it but not propose legislation themselves.
They can't change it. Particularly, not really. They can amend it, but they can't initiate legislation. They can amend it, but they can't initiate legislation. So we're a eunuch of a parliament, effectively. And the thing is, there is an inbuilt majority of wet liberal, right-wing socialist sort of melange of sort of people.
Are we saying French and Germans?
French and Germans. And the whole thing is modelled on the French state. They want everybody to have the same problems that France has got. That's what the problem is. They want France to everyone else to have the same problems that France has got, and they don't. France cannot compete in the capitalist world. So what they do instead is they create a super state for Europe, which means everybody is as noble as France is, and that's why they are horrified that we should be leaving. Barnier is a Frenchman and a former bureaucrat in France who lost his job because he had an argument with Britain, and he's been dying to get his revenge ever since, and this is his big opportunity. Plus, of course, by punishing Britain, he's making himself very popular here, and he can be the next president of the European Union. So that's what he's really after.
Do you feel like Britain's a bit of a whipping boy in the European Parliament?
No, utterly. That's what we are. They are terrified of us leaving. One, because we're a sort of capitalist, economy, free enterprise, all that sort of thing. Stuff they do not like. They believe in businesses controlled by the state. They want to have heavy taxation. They think that people with their own businesses are no better than criminals. They think they're dodgy because they're making money, and that's not right. It's vulgar to do that because they're all professionals.
They're complaining that these people are growing the economy and paying taxes and employing people.
That's it. But you see, they think it's much more important. The French always think that people in free enterprise, people who are running their own affairs, not quite right. It's all a bit dodgy. There's something a bit sordid about it. You should all be earning a nice salary. You should be a professor, or you should be a lawyer, or something like that. Professional man. They look down on people who generate
on the entrepreneur, on the man who's living by his wits.
Absolutely. They think we're something slightly fishy about those sort of people.
I suppose from their perspective, we are. We're not under their control. And I suppose that's a problem if you are at the top of a bureaucratic organisation that spans a continent.
That's right. And not only that, because they always make sure that, if you say you work for the town hall, or you work in this business, that business, you work for a state institution, what they can do is they can make sure you have no freedom of speech. If you say something they don't approve of, they can pull the rug from under your feet. You could find yourself losing your job or not able to get a job. And that is the hold they have over it. So people like policemen, nurses, doctors, people who work in the health service, that sort of thing, they can find that they don't get a job because the system works to protect itself. And there's a hierarchy right from the top of the tree here right down to people who work for the town hall. That's
very interesting. It's a way of ensuring institutional loyalty, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. Yeah. And that's a terrifying thing about it. And it's like a trade union for bureaucrats, and the whole purpose of society is to generate taxes to pay their salaries and their gilt-edged pensions, and that's the scary thing about it. And they have something called common purpose. I don't know how aware you are of that.
No, not very.
Common purpose is it's like Freemasonry for bureaucrats. It's Tony Blair, the great sort of godfather of this, and that sort of milieu. They're all part of this thing. Most of the police chiefs now you'll find in the UK are all been part of this common purpose. Anybody who's in this position of importance has done common purpose, and if you're not part of the deal, then you're not part of the system, and that's what it's all about, feeding this particular beast.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to Article 11 and Article 13, which is the hot topic at the moment. What is your opinion of why do you think these have come about? For anyone who's not aware, Article 11 is called the link tax, and the purpose of it will be for the European Union to be able to essentially strip money out of Silicon Valley if people share links to various media outlets on their social media sites. And Article 13 is the copyright directive, which will require social media sites to have algorithms that detect copyrighted material and prevent it from being uploaded, which is going to naturally infringe on fair use. So material that is not illegal to remix and transform will be inherently prescribed effectively for the benefit of large corporations, multimillionaire artists, things like this. What do you think the purpose? I mean, do these things surprise you at all?
It's not to protect copyright, I can tell you that. This is nothing to do with protecting copyright. The one thing that's upset this place is the rise of populist parties like UKIP. The word populist is a dirty word.
Well, if you're a massive bureaucratic organisation of elitists, I can only imagine it would be. But sorry, Karen.
They're scared witless. And UKIP could never have existed or have arisen without that, without the internet, without the freedom of the internet. It was the one thing that gave us the ability to transcend the media, the control of press barons, the BBC, the Brussels Broadcasting Corporation, the Bolshevik Broadcasting Corporation, depending on your point of view, ITV, whatever. It's all controlled. Yes. And this was a way of getting the message out there. And they are horrified by this. And it's taken them years to think of ways of trying to cripple it. And if they don't do something about it, it's basically exposing the fact that the emperor has no clothes, and they can't have this. They've got to do something about this. So this is their way of attacking your ability out there in internet.
On the internet, in internet land.
Internets out there. It's their way of getting at you and taking away your freedom. Because we are sharing your films, this and that, and fair usage,
And this goes down to images, short video clips, and anything that they can conceivably copyright can, or in fact, would have to be captured by these algorithms, or they would be in violation of this directive, and God knows what punishments would be ensued. And exactly, and this is a massive.
Bankrupted. Because these corporations have more money than God, so they'll come and they'll get you. And the only people they will be able to continue will be people with money. So it's basically keeping the little guys out. Somebody like yourself who didn't start with really money, you'd be gone. These people, they want you gone. You are a threat. All you people out there, all you internets, you are a threat to their control. And that's what they're trying to stop. And making you pay for this stuff, or getting you, if you infringe any copyright, is a wonderful weapon. They can just destroy you, and that's what they want to do.
I find that very interesting that with Article 11, they and in the actual blurb that precedes it, they mention Silicon Valley and the tech giants, and in the newspapers that are posted around here, I guess practically internal newspapers.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They hear propaganda and make Dr. Goebbels blush.
I'll leave a link in the description to this, to a video I did with Count Dankula. We actually went through one of these newspapers, and in the opening blurb, they are portraying themselves as the little guy against the giant of Silicon Valley. But what Article 13 is going to do is ensure that there is only the giant of Silicon Valley and them, and they'll have a weapon in Article 11 with which to beat Silicon Valley. And I don't want to defend Silicon Valley. I don't particularly like them. But since you'll be watching this on YouTube...
That's your freedom.
Exactly. Have to defend them.
So, this is what it's all about. It's all about closing down. We've had a period of unprecedented liberty that we haven't had since, I think, probably the 18th century, when politics got completely out of hand at the turn of the 18th, early 19th century. There's not been such an opportunity to get out there and do stuff, and that's what they're trying to control. They thought originally television would be problem, but the thing about television, it's very expensive.
It's gatekeeping. It's very easy to. It's a very narrow channel that you have to get to reach millions of people.
They were very threatened in the 60s and 70s by the radio, Radio Caroline, all this sort of stuff. Offshore radio. That was a big problem. Oh yeah, we have to do something about that. And they went wild trying to close down all these pirate radio stations. So this is the same. That's when they tried to close down the pirate radio stations. Same old nonsense.
And so this, I think this leads into an interesting phenomenon that's happening across Europe at the moment. Which, I mean, they say disdainfully the populist movement, but I always figure it as more of the sort of the localist movement. It's because this is my impression of coming into UKIP has been incredibly positive, because everyone in UKIP seems like a regular person. No one in UKIP seems to be a careerist. They seem to be just arguing for the little guy, arguing for the regular person. And I can only assume that the movements that are currently being demonized across Europe at the moment, because they are suffering under the heel of an elite bureaucracy, are basically in the same position. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
I think that's very true. There are lots of people, and we have these other populist movements that we are very close to. So it's the Swedish Democrats, who have done very, very well. What's it? Things for Deutschland, Alternative for Deutschland. They have been 5 Star, very close to them. We've got an alliance with them. These people, and 5 Star now, just about the government of Italy. These people have come from nowhere. Again, the internet. Beppe Grillo, the leader of the 5 Star, he was a clown, literally a clown. Yes, he was a clown, and he used his being on telly and stuff to boost the whole thing. But he is a clown and a funny guy, and people watched his programs because he's a funny guy, like you and Marcus. So it's all about that. That has boosted them from 0 to number 2 in Italy. And this is what's terrifying this place. This is a revolution. Unlike since 1848, the year of revolutions, there's been nothing like this. And this is what they're scared about. They're going to clamp down this as hard as they can. And we've got to fight it. We have absolutely got to fight it. And UKIP are the only people in here who are actually doing something about this. They can see it coming. And we've been alerting all these other populist parties to this. And you've been instrumental in this, and Marcus as well. People get it. Jared Batten gets it. Nigel Farage gets it. We need to make sure that we get that message out.
See, isn't it incredible in an age of almost unlimited information that we are actually in need of pro-liberty movements? It's so mind-boggling. It's so back to front. You would think that this would be the complete opposite. That if anything, we would be in a situation where we wouldn't even consider how we need to be able to share a message. But because of these vast bureaucracies, we are actually in a position where we actually have to fight a power structure that seems to be aggressively opposing a realignment and redistribution of power in society.
Well, one of the guys who's talking about this a great deal is Prince Charles. Oh yeah, he's very concerned about the threat to individual freedom and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think that it's becoming more and more a central issue. This is more metropolis. It's like the future of metropolis type thing. 1984, metropolis, and they're using. One of the things they're using, I'm on the tax committee, which you think is very boring. Well, not entirely boring. There's a lot of juicy stuff in there. The moment they're trying to stop cash, they're trying to get rid of cash. They don't like cash. Because
Are you serious?
Oh yes, they're trying to get rid of cash.
That's exactly what Alex Jones has been saying for decades now, that the globalists are coming for your money and everything will be electronic.
Oh yeah, they want electronic money because that way they can control people. They can seize your money like that. And the moment it's a bit more difficult, you could hide your money. Oh, we can't have that. So at the moment they're trying to bring in, and I'm speaking about it this afternoon in the chamber, and tomorrow they're voting on it, that you can't have any more than 8,000, 10,000 euros in cash or gold or other sorts of. They haven't got other sorts of valuables, but they're working on it. Yeah. But that's what they're after.
How are they going to prevent that?
A very good question. I'll tell you what they will do. They'll do what the French do. I don't know how many of you out there, when you're driving around France, you suddenly get pulled over to the side of the road by the police at the side of the road. They just pull, and they're not called the police, they're called douane fiscale. They're basically fiscal police. And they stop you. They go through all the paperwork in your car, check your check stubs, everything. Find out if you've got paint in the back of your car or wagon. No, absolutely. To see if you've been cheating on your taxes, whether you're doing a job on the fly, all that sort of thing. And that's how France runs. They want to extend that to the rest of Europe. We think this is comical and rather scary.
That's terrifying.
But this is standard practice in France. In France, you are guilty on the European Union. It's run by Napoleonic code. You're guilty until you prove yourself innocent. They put a charge to you. You've got to prove yourself innocent. It's not the other way around. In Britain, you are innocent until proven guilty. Yes. The other way. They have to prove you're guilty. Here, you have the other way around.
That's absolutely terrifying. I mean, I'm aware that the French have the inquisitorial system of judiciary, legal system, and we have the adversarial. And I mean, I appreciate the difference and the fact that ours is more guaranteed to liberty and to protect the rights of the individual. But I had no idea it was that Orwellian, frankly. I mean,
and it's been that way since Bonaparte, and before that, it's his system is derived from some previous system, but essentially that's how it works. And they want to bring this in the UK. And we've got to fight this. This is the reason we must leave. The European Union is not in our interest. It's completely contrary to our constitution, the way our constitution's developed, the way our liberties have developed. And remember, it was Britain who kept Europe free. It was Britain who, in the 17th century, stopped Louis XIV dominating Europe and having absolute monarchy throughout Europe.
Louis, I am the state, 14th.
Je suis l'État, l'État c'est moi. Followed by Bonaparte, who very much the same thing. He wanted to be world emperor, and he gave his Code Napoleon. He overthrew all the laws in Europe and imposed the Code Napoleon throughout Europe. And the Code Napoleon is very much there to control, so the state controls people. Each generation is obliged to sell all their homes and goods, more or less, because you cannot just pass it straight on. You have to divide your goods between all your heirs. So you don't have primogeniture like you have in the UK, where you leave the bulk of your wealth to maybe one person or a group of people.
You get to choose, don't you?
Choose. Not in France. You are directed as to who you may leave your goods to. That's scary.
Okay, as an Englishman, I'm hearing this and thinking, my God, this is tyranny. That's all I'm thinking. I mean, honestly, it genuinely scares me what you're saying.
Well, Napoleon brought it in because he wanted to destroy the aristocracy who passed it from generation to generation. And this way it does it, which is great for antique dealers buying in France. The place is awash with stuff, but because everyone has to sell. And when you see French country houses or castles, well, there's no original antique furniture in there. It's all being bought in by successive generations, which can be fun, but it's not very, it's not real.
I just can't believe that any people would accept this level of state control. I mean, it's raising the hackles on the back of my neck. I'm just like, no, it's unacceptable.
Well, this is what the European Union has been trying to impose on us ever since we joined this monstrous affair, and. Quite frankly, I don't have any part of it. If I generate money, or you guys out there, you work hard to give money to your kids. You don't want to give it to somebody else. You want to give it to your kids. You might give it to a few people.
Even if I wanted to give it to someone else, it should be my choice and not the state.
Exactly. But this is what it's all about. It's about the state directing your life. You don't direct your own life. You're told how to direct. You're directed, essentially. And, of course, the bureaucrats in the state feeding the sausage machine that is the state, who create laws, and because the whole business of the state is to get bigger and bigger and to keep themselves employed, they invent more laws for the hell of having more laws.
Now that's a great point to end on, because this is one of the things that I just cannot get over with the depth of the bureaucracy here. I mean, like yesterday on the panel, we were talking about the European Union wanting to regulate the length of candle wicks. Now, this is a level of minutiae that is, I mean, it's a parody back in Britain, isn't it? I mean, people joke about it and they assume that it's wrong.
Bananas. How bendy is your banana? There was a great big furore about how bent a European banana should be.
Absolutely.
This is normal around here. It's so farcical. There was one particularly strange thing that our agricultural guy was a bit shocked by. He's a farmer from Norfolk, Stuart Agnew, and they were talking about the climate change, and I'm very, very vexed about methane in the atmosphere, and so they were starting to talk about most of these. They're all sort of townies here. They're all starting to talk about how can we stop cows producing methane. And Stuart, who was sitting doodling at his desk at the time, suddenly woke up and said, Good God, they're going to put corks on my cow's backsides. What are they up to? What are they thinking about? This is a natural function. How are you going to stop cows passing wind?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with that. And this is the sort of insanity you get in this place.
Yes.
People here, none of whom have actually run a business in their life. I'm a businessman. All my life I've been a businessman. And on the tax committee, again, they were talking about how they're going to tax big businesses, the international businesses. Well, listen, there's no way you can tax big businesses. There's no way on earth. They can't invent something to do that. Well, they're trying. They're doing handstands to try to do this, but they can't do it. Yeah. So what the whole thing is about is limiting your freedom. What they should do is get rid of corporate tax, period, because corporations don't pay taxes. They charge the money to the customer, and then they pay the tax to the money. It's not. It's a situation where you're not going to get.
Excuse me. We're filming.
Sorry. Wow. This is they're trying desperately to find a way of taxing, and they can't. But the obvious thing is reduce the taxes. Don't have taxes on small businesses in the high street. Give them a level playing field so the bigger businesses. That's the only way to do it. So why not do that? Oh, because that's against the rules. Taxes only go up; they never go down.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. And that's probably why they hate Donald Trump.
If it moves, tax it. If it continues to move, regulate it.
Well, this is the thing. I'm just amazed at the dedication to detail in many ways. I mean, I can't even imagine how many regulations I would have to put into place before I finally got to, okay, but what about the length of the wick in the candle? I mean, like, surely there's something more
important for His Holiness the Pope. Yeah, and they should send to Rome for this one.
Okay, well, David, thank you very much. This has been great fun. Thank you.